You know, as the weather gets warmer and the seasons change, there are some things that homeowners need to do to protect their homes.
Yeah, joining us with the details is home repair expert Eric Mortensen from AdvantaClean. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
All right, so here comes the spring, here comes the rain, here comes the thaw. Even though we didn't see a ton of snow this year, still the ground is wet in general. Yeah. What kinds of calls do you guys get typically this time of year?
Yeah, this time of year we transition from the snow season to the rain season. The ground is thawing. We have more moisture accumulating around the outside of our property. So it lends itself perfectly to that outside moisture working its way into your basement.
Yeah, that's no fun. That's not where we want it.
No, we want to avoid that altogether. So there are things we can do outside and inside our homes to help protect that water from getting in the basement. So why don't you give us an example of a number of things that we could do to protect that?
Yeah, a good basement waterproofing system helps. Sump pump as a component of that waterproofing system is critical, but it's amazing how 90% of the issues we run into, outside moisture working its way inside, comes down to gutters and grading. It's just making sure your gutters are clean, free of debris. You got those leaves out of there last fall. The downspout extensions are attached.
Oh yeah.
People frequently overlook that. And you end up dumping all that water.
I don't want to mow
right next to the foundation.
This thing.
Yeah, right.
I'm guilty of that sometimes.
Yep. And then checking the grading around your property. You know, don't be afraid to get down and get low and walk the perimeter and make sure that grading is going away from the foundation of the property.
That was one of the biggest problems when we moved into my house. The grading, the sump pump spilled out to the side of the house and in turn eroded the dirt on the side of the house, which in turn led to a hill that went back down into the window well. And it was just this constant rivery cycle. It was like I installed a fountain. Is what essentially happened.
There you go.
With the sump pump. Let's talk sump pumps for a moment. There are many different kinds. There are many different backups and things like that. Any thoughts or recommendations on that regard?
You know, I like these units. These come with they all have a float of different types. This is the float here. Generally, you'll have the piping come out here, and that'll discharge outside of the home. But you want a sump pump that works for your application. They come in different horsepowers, a 1/3 horsepower to 3/4 horsepower. So you want to make sure it works for your application, and you want to make sure you know how to test your sump pump.
How do you test that sump pump?
That's a good question.
Oh, thank you very much. I wasn't led to that or anything.
The way to test it, there's really two ways to test it.
All right.
You could go in and stick your hand into your sump pit, which can be uncomfortable for some people the first time. You can just grab that float and you can pull it up and make sure it kicks on. I tend to like a method that is more simulating the actual need for that to kick on, and it's taking a 5-gallon bucket of water and pouring it into the pit. There you go. Because sometimes what will happen is this float, especially these types, this can run into the wall of that sump pit, and therefore it's never rising and never knows to turn on.
Okay. What about, like you said, that waterproofing systems in a basement? Like you essentially, this is a much bigger and expensive proposition. Essentially putting a trench around the exterior of your house and explain that process. And roughly, how much does that cost?
Well, so that process, it's really drain tile around the perimeter of the home. And that diverts the water collecting around the perimeter into that sump pit where this then resides. And that can vary based on the size of the basement, but it can be that $8,000 to $10,000 range for sure.
I think I put in about $8 grand in mine.
Yeah, you got to dig all the way around.
Just to start.
Put it away.
Yep, it could be a little painful to go through it.
Water is not our friend when it comes to the house. Eric, thank you very much for being here this morning. Appreciate
thanks for having me.
Thank you. Some great advice.
Things to think about this springtime.
Yes, indeed.